Flashy Page, Spain, Isola. Today, the reported three-way. George to the Cavs and Woody's Nuggets getting love.
Ooh.
That didn't come out right. No. Also, speed just right, too much, or not enough celebration. Let's go around the horn.
Oh, stop.
Perfect.
Phrasing.
Jack used to celebrate like that.
It's Around the Horn, the show of competitive banter. Here's Tony Reali.
Mark Stein report. Paul George to the Cavaliers. Kevin Love to the Nuggets. Pacers hitting reset. Chris Haynes report. It's possible the Cavs get Kenneth Faried, too, from Denver. And the reports that maybe Dwayne Wade, maybe Carmelo Anthony will take buyouts and go to Cleveland. Frank, of course we're having this conversation in June. Would all of those pieces add up to a super Warriors beating team for Cleveland?
I definitely think they would get closer. First of all, you look at a guy like Paul George. LeBron struggled to guard Kevin Durant. It's not to say that Paul George can, but it's another guy that you could put on Kevin Durant. I also think that Paul George, late in games, listen, he's never made a shot in the last 5 seconds to win a game, but I still trust him a little bit more late. Exactly, except for the Gatorade commercial. So I think in a league where you need athletic wing players, I think getting Paul George would be a home run for the Cavaliers.
Sarah Spain?
Yeah, I agree. We saw throughout the entire regular season that the biggest knock on the Cavs was their defense. And if you add a guy like Paul George and take out a guy like Kevin Love, that means you can play your best players out there and not worry about a big defensive lapse, the kind that you get when Kevin Love is in there down the stretch. I don't know if it would be enough. I especially think adding in the Wade and Carmelo Anthony bits would be very tricky in terms of how much run they're actually getting and what they expect to do for a team like that. Can you balance all those Eagles and all those guys that want the ball? But certainly you're going to get closer, and if you're the Cavs, you got to do it. You got to try to keep LeBron around, and you got to.
So if you're the Cavaliers, you have to do this deal right now and bring in George and send Kevin Love to Denver, which is where Woody Page is. Woody, what do you think of this three-way?
Well, we want Irving, too. So if you're going to give us Love, go ahead and send the other
bold maneuver. Very shrewd, Woody.
Yeah. But in regard to the Pacers, this deal doesn't work out for them because if the Nuggets send them Faried to Cleveland, and they're going to send Wilson Chandler and Moutier and all their other trash to Indiana. I feel sorry for the Pacers. I think that they need more out of this deal or don't make it at all. Yes, they're going to be shortchanged no matter what happens. But in regard to the Cavaliers, does this put this closer? I think it stinks a little bit like that Lakers deal when they brought in Nash and they brought in Karl Malone, and they really didn't work out. So I'm not sure this is the right way for the Cavaliers to go about it and give up one of your big three, and you're replacing him with Anthony who hadn't won anything.
All right, so you're not sure about this, all those parts fitting. By the way, it was Carmelo and Gary Payton 1 year with the Lakers, and the other year, of course, was Nash and Howard. Now we turn to Los Angeles and Bill Plaschke.
Yeah, Woody, it was Peyton and Karl Malone, and they did get to the NBA, and you did get to the NBA Finals. And if Kobe and Shaq didn't hate each other, they would have won that thing. So, no, but I think the story here is, what's Indiana still doing with Paul George? I don't understand. They could have had the Lakers who would have given them Randall and Clarkson and 2 draft picks on draft day. They could have made a deal, they should make the deal with Cleveland, make the deal with Denver. They are stuck right now with Paul George. They're in a bad position. They're not going to get full value for him. That's just the way it is. Paul George sucker punched them, and they're stuck right now. They need to do something. They can't enter the season with Paul George on this team, and they know it. Every team in the NBA knows it. They might as well make a deal, any kind of deal. I don't care what he calls them trash. They have to take trash, whatever they can get for this guy. They got to do it.
They have to take trash? Is that anybody's strategy? You have to take trash?
Air quotes on the trash.
I saw you're shaking your head. No, go ahead.
Bill Plaschke, you kill me trying to do Magic Johnson's dirty work. You want me to take the 27 and 28 pick, Jordan Clarkson and Randall for my best player? If I'm Kevin Pritchard and Woody happen to be 100% right, if I'm not getting Nikola Jokic and if I'm not going to get Jamal Murray, there's other teams I'm going to talk to.
And we're hearing those guys are off the table, right?
Backups.
Are Jokic and Murray off the table, Woody Page?
That's what the word is, that they're off the table.
Yes.
I'll talk to
those
another
are the
team.
2 players they're going to keep, and they also want Gary Harris. So there's only 3 players, and there could have been others that they might choose. but Wilson Chandler's a malcontent, and Fareed is an energy player who's running out of energy.
There's value
so I don't
there.
know why.
Yeah, well, Woody, you're better off getting something for nothing. And as we know, threesomes like 3-team deals usually leave someone out in the cold. And unfortunately, it's the Pacers this time. But if they're going to get nothing, they got to at least do something.
Well, I mean, the something for nothing. Are you speaking from regional experience here, Sarah Spain, because of what the Bulls just got for Jimmy Butler? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the trade that happened. Jimmy Buckets, Sarah's Jimmy Buckets, going with Cat and Wiggins, reuniting with Tibbs so he can become Jimmy Minutes again. His trainer napalmed all things Chicago basketball on the way out. Butler distanced himself from that. But I don't know if I saw it anywhere that this wasn't an A for Minnesota and an F for Chicago. So we'll start with you, Sarah, from a Bulls perspective. Did they get something, or did this trade make any sense at all?
Yeah, I mean, the only sense it made was that for a long time here in Chicago, Jerry Reinsdorf's loyalty to Gar Forman and John Paxson, otherwise known as Gar Pax, was so strong that no matter how the team was playing and whether or not they were actually making moves forward, they were safe. And the problem with that was it was allowing them to be happy with this 7th or 8th seed, getting bounced in the first round, and not actually making the moves that would make the team better, because it felt like it protected their jobs more to not make those big moves. We were all afraid they were going to do that forever. At least in this case, they have picked a lane, and that lane is rebuild. Now, they shouldn't have given up 16, and they shouldn't have sold that second-round pick, and I don't think they got enough back for him. But if you're desperate and you need someone to do something, they at least did something.
Okay. All right. So now, in one segment, we have a guy talking about, well, you got to trade trash sometimes to get trash. And now you absolutely just dumped all over the deal. But then you said you had to do something. Woody Page, you're not in Chicago.
Paul
Give me your
George.
view
You got to
of this.
do something.
Well, let's please help Sarah out here. They got Markkanen, who I think is going to be the
You did say that coming in. They drafted Lauren Markkanen
and I just think that they did get the best player in the draft, and Paxton said they thought they got the best player in the draft. So if you look down the line in the future, Sarah, maybe you won't think this is such a bad deal, but I think the Timberwolves didn't win a championship, but they moved up to 5th or 6th in the Western Conference, and that's very difficult to do with all those good teams out there. So I think they've really helped themselves, and Tom T is really, I think, reunited. He's talking about getting Dwayne Wade or maybe Derrick Rose out there. The Timberwolves have not been a team since they lost Garnett, so this puts them back into at least being relevant again.
Mm-hmm. Bill Plauschke, can you address it first from Chicago's perspective?
Well, first I got to address it. Woody, you think Lauri Markkanen is the best player in the draft?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Woody's been on him all season. He really has.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I saw him play every day. No, I think Chicago. Yes, Sarah, you're right. You're right. The Bulls picked a lane. The Bulls picked a lane. It was the off-ramp into insanity. I mean, this was a terrible deal. This is the opposite of the Paul George thing. They didn't need to do this right now. They could have done this for a lot. They could have gotten a lot more. They could have held out for a lot more. They got a guard who's not very good. They got a guy who's hurt, and they got Lauri Markkanen again, who I think is very questionable. I think the Bulls. I don't know what they're.
Can you explain why you view this differently than you view Indiana's situation?
Oh, exactly, because Jimmy Butler didn't have to go. He didn't come out and say, "I want to leave here and I want to come to L.A." He didn't say that. He didn't give it. He didn't say, "I want out," and he didn't give it his destination.
Frank, your view?
And he's got 2 more years.
They snuck into the playoffs. So there are 2 kinds of teams in the NBA, those contending, and there's about 5 of those, and everybody else. And right now the Bulls figured, you know what? We might as well rebuild. Fans like rebuilding, owners like rebuilding, and hey, they went out and they got 3 young players. Chris Dunn was the 5th pick. A couple of years ago, Zach LaVine was a top 20 pick, and they have the 7th overall pick. So Sarah's right. They're picking a lane, and they're going with a rebuild, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Sarah's right.
And I'll tell you what, from the Timberwolves standpoint, when they were eliminated from playoff contention on April 2nd, they blew a double-digit lead and lost for the 20th time last season. Jimmy Butler will make a big difference from that standpoint. He gives them leadership, experience.
What do you think their ceiling is now with this 3 that they have? A very intriguing 3 of Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins and now Butler.
And they're also hoping that in free agency, Butler will attract other players to say, you know what, they're trying to do something in Minnesota. I think they can be between 5 and 8. They should be a playoff team.
Last word, Woody Page.
Well, I just don't think that the NBA has a great memory. When Anthony went to New York, Frank, as you know, the Nuggets got 4 key players and 2 first-round draft picks. What has happened to the NBA? I mean, now they are taking trash, Tony, instead of top-flight players. I don't get it.
Okay, well, maybe that plays into the mindset of who we're going to talk about next here, and that's Danny Ainge, because everything you guys just said about the Pacers and Bulls does not count for the Celtics. They were the 1 seed in the East last season, but there's some heat on Danny Ainge. At least there's the sense that there's some heat on Danny Ainge. He made the trade away from number one. He didn't make the trade for Butler. Hasn't made the trade for George as of yet. There was a question recently whether he was accumulating all these draft picks, and that makes other teams less likely to make a deal with him because they asked for the moon. He says, yes, that's kind of what's happening here. Bill, how do you think Celtics fans should feel right now about the position Danny Ainge has them in?
Well, they should be thinking, okay, we better be seeing Gordon Hayward. We better be seeing Blake Griffin come to town pretty soon. We better be seeing something. He has 7 first-round picks in the next 2 years, and then he's resisted. He could have had Butler last year. He resisted getting Butler. He's resisted to Paul George. He resisted even they're talking to Kristaps Porzingis. He's resisted all these efforts to make his team better, to make his team that actually finished 3 wins short of the NBA Finals last year, close enough that it's not a rebuild. Yet he has 7 first-round picks in the next 2 years and doesn't do anything with them. I think they must be waiting for them to get a free agent. He must have some plan because the plan right now doesn't seem to be working.
Frank Isola?
Well, number one, they believe that they can get Gordon Hayward, and there's your shooting guard. So that's why you don't go after Jimmy Butler. But the Bulls and the Pacers, the Knicks, they've been asking for the moon. So Danny Ainge just should make a deal to placate Bill Plaschke. They were in the conference finals last year. They won a game. In a LeBron James NBA, they're still in a good position where 2-3 years down the road, they should be able to dominate the East. So I'm going to still stand pat until I get the right deal for me, not the right deal for the media and the fans.
Sarah Spain?
Yeah, it's complicated, right? Because you do have to look in that east side. And how big is the window for LeBron? Is he here after next year? Does he go to the West? Do you want to make a move now while you're already a top seed that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals? Or do you want to take all those picks and figure out that your window starts a little later? If you don't get Butler, you don't get Hayward, you don't get Griffin, you don't get George, what are those picks worth? Unless you're deciding you want to figure out whether you want to pay Isaiah Thomas that big contract and whether he's the centerpiece, or you want to get rid of him and get even younger and wait for a bigger window to open.
Woody Page?
Once again, I don't understand if you don't study history. If I'm a Boston Celtics fan, I'm miffed. Yeah, you got all those draft choice upcoming. What have you done with the last 11? Last 11 that you picked over the last 7 drafts, you got 2 of them that are players. The others are gone. They aren't any good. They're awful. I mean, they've had 2 players out of 11. Look at those odds. You passed up the possibility of getting Butler and maybe still playing up until the awards dinner tonight. And no, you didn't do that. And so you got knocked out. I don't know what's going on there. If they don't get Hayward, then this is a total disaster for an offseason.
Let me ask you, Frank, since you believe that Ainge was kind of a victim of his own success. He had accrued all these draft picks, and now other teams are holding him to a higher standard, I guess, when they're trying to make a trade with him. He was also the guy who didn't draft Josh Jackson because maybe they didn't come to an agreement on a workout or not. What's that about right now?
Well, that part of it is a little embarrassing because it is the Boston Celtics. And Josh Jackson, who all we hear is the most competitive guy in the draft, yet he didn't even want to compete for minutes in Boston. They fly all the way out to Sacramento to watch him work out, and he says, no, I don't want to work out. So to me, the Celtics, the great history and everything else, they took a little bit of a hit right there.
That is Spain after the one.
Yeah, I think the whole jilted lover act was weird because draft goes one way, not both ways. They don't have to love you back for you to pick them. But I do think there's something to be said for the fact that Josh Jackson is in anger management. He had issues at Kansas. If you think that there's any attitude issues and then he blows you off for a workout too,
all right,
maybe
so you
he's not the guy that you want.
Okay. The draft, like around the horn, goes one way, not the other. You don't have to like me to get the points there. Sarah Spain's in the lead. We'll take a break right now. By yourself.
How did that happen?
That's out of nowhere.
Around the Horn is brought to you by Burger King. Try the new mushroom and Swiss King sandwich, only at Burger King.
Buy or sell.
The Big 3-on-3 league. We got to talk about this. Do any of you guys see it? Trick questions,
no.
tape delayed, it's on tonight. But trick question, it was all over YouTube and highlights right here. So attendance over 15,000 in Brooklyn. About the ball, Iverson was 1 of 6, 2 points. Rashard Lewis had 27, including a 4-pointer. And we lost Jason Williams and Corey Maggette. Bill Plaschke, buy or sell the debut?
I'm totally selling it. I tried to buy it. I tried to read about it. I couldn't get through it. Kwame Brown, I watched him 3 years out here in his prime. I couldn't barely get through that. To watch him now, Jerome Williams, Katina Mobley, great guys, I'm sure, all very earnest players. But no, I'm not interested in this in the least.
Woody Page?
I'm also selling it. Frank, tell your people up there, if these many people had shown up, the Dodgers would still be in Brooklyn. But yet they'll go out to see anything. Rucker League, on asphalt.
Yeah,
no,
Rucker
these
League.
guys should just stay exactly where they are.
Spain.
On the sideline.
At first glance, I love the idea because there are a couple guys in there that I would love to see playing. Everyone wants to see what Iverson can do at 42. Unfortunately, we found out, and I don't think he's going to get enough minutes,
8 minutes
to keep people excited in a gimmick over 10 weeks, right? If he doesn't start playing more, and it's the Kwame Browns of the world that you're watching, it's not going to be that great. And the injuries, I think, are going to hurt for
Exactly.
all of us
I mean, my question is, can we even get 10
watch.
weeks out of this, Sarah? I mean, the injuries are going to be piling up. Frank, you weren't there, but it was in Brooklyn. What'd you think?
Well, you guys are a bunch of party poopers. Number one, you know who's buying it? The IOC. It's going to be the Olympics. And I think eventually the NBA is going to buy it.
3-on-3 is, yes.
And
Not
they're
doing
going to
this.
send
They're not buying the league.
Here's what I would do. Every city, I would get active NBA players to play in one of the games. So you can get
there's
LeBron
no
and the
way.
Banana Boat crew.
Not a
You can
chance.
get Westbrook
There's
and
no
Hart.
way.
Maybe Kevin Durant.
You think the NBA
Prince George's County.
Not a chance.
You guys are
Not a
nuts.
chance they would.
Sounds great.
Why not?
Let me ask the panel. Is there any way the NBA is going to sign off on that? Their players playing in the
Not in a
off-season?
million
No,
years.
Sign up on the
Absolutely
World
not.
League,
Doesn't
the
sound
DC League.
Speaking of, since you brought up the Olympics do a tape delay. I mean, we can't do tape delays in life anymore. Tape delays, we got to move on from that. Let's move on to buy or sell two. NBA awards, unless you want to wait longer. Harden versus Westbrook, Embiid versus game played. Also, a most fashionable NBA player award, best dunk of the season, best game winner of the season, whatever else it is, if you even remember the regular season. What do you buy or sell the award show tonight?
I was buying it 2 months ago, the only one on the program that did. I'm still buying it. The suspense, the drama. We've been waiting all this time. We had to go back and look at what happened in the regular season to try to remember it. I was trying to think who was the coach of the year. I think it's going to be big. It's going to beat the Bachelorette tonight.
Spain.
First of all, I was against it 2 months ago, just like everybody else, and I'm still against it because it's incredibly anticlimactic. The last game James Harden played, he didn't even remember how to play basketball. So that's the lasting image we're left with before we honor him with the Best Player of the League for the Year award. I'm sorry, but I love the idea of an award show. Not now. It's way too late.
Isola.
NBA Entertainment, one of its television partners, they will put on a great show. But I don't really think about what happened 2 months ago. Right now, I'm focused on what teams are trying to do in free agency. It's about next season, not about what happened this past season.
Flash.
You can't underestimate the thirst for NBA knowledge right now. People love it right now. This whole show, half the show, we're still talking about the NBA. It's the middle of June. People want to see this. I'm all in on this right now. I bet the ratings are through the roof. Again, people love NBA. They love the stars.
I will say some of our viewers are sending us tweets about, why are you doing half the show in the NBA in June? Well, let's move on from the NBA then. Let's talk about walk-off golf. Because if this happened every week, we do it every show.
Right at it. Right at it! Oh, Jordan Spieth!
Golf is always walk-off, of course, but if golf was always Jordan Spieth holing out, throwing the putter, throwing the rake, I mean, look how great this is. A Travelers Championship, appropriate celebration, Sarah?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, he's doing something only Tiger Woods had done before 24 with the double-digit wins and not getting enough credit for it, in part because there isn't that flurry and buzz around him. If he does stuff like this and makes golf more Happy Gilmore, we'll all be into it. We'll all start watching more.
Celebration just enough? Too much for you? Or you wanted more, Sarah?
Perfect. I'll take
All right.
more.
Frank,
more
how about
throwing
you?
rakes.
That was a brilliant shot, incredible impromptu celebration. Too bad it didn't happen in the U.S. Open. But Jordan Spieth, this is what golf needs. Absolutely.
Lasky.
Yeah, no, it was tremendous. Rake flip, wedge flip. Golf needs big players in big moments, big scenes. It's perfect.
Paige.
Yeah, no, it was too much celebration. You guys are forgetting about Daniel Berger, who's out there with a chance to tie, and he's got to sit there and endure all of this.
You can't.
You want a bronze
You're on the
away?
golf
no
course
chance
3
to
times
tie.
a week. If you ever did anything like that, you wouldn't walk around with pants on for the rest of your life.
I do it all the time.
Woody's done, and while we've got
Got a
Frank
chance
Isola
to
here
tie.
ready to
Give him
say
a second.
goodbye, did we see Frank live tweeting the BET Awards last night?
No.
Going after Future with a hot take?
I like him. That was a good story.
Frank in the immortal gif of Jonah Hill. He's done. Plasky Spade. Everybody, get on Isola right now on Twitter.
Frank, you're the target.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Big showdown. And this is Red Sox manager John Farrell and umpire Bill Miller going at it. Grade it, Flashkey.
This is an A+, especially in context. We haven't seen one of these in 2 or 3 years. Since replay, we don't see these anymore. This is so tremendous, spitting on each other, right in each other's faces. It's great.
Am I the only person who was watching this yelling, make out! Make out! They were so close. I feel like if you get that close to someone's face, you either have to kiss them or punch them. So the restraint that they showed, A+.
I mean, you got to be smelling what they had for lunch when you're that close. How can you get that close? So tremendous. We'll split the point. We'll move it on. Showdown 2. Best part of the summer. NBA players going out in it and getting schooled. Oladipo nutmegged by someone still in grade school. Klay Thompson denied by the rim in China. Who comes off looking worse, Sarah?
Oh, it's definitely Klay Thompson. If you're playing a kid, you can always lie and say you let them win and you weren't giving it your best. If you're Klay, you're suddenly not surrounded by 3 of the best players in the league.
Yeah, at least Oladipo was doing something with kids. Klay's just on a promotional tour. And did you see the cameras? Did you see the cameras? That's the whole story there. There's a million cameras everywhere. That made Klay worse.
Sarah Spain back in the winner's circle. 30 seconds of baseball.
Giving a shout out to my hometown Cubs and Blackhawks for marching in Sunday's Pride Parade, but also out in New York, the NBA, 400 employees, Warriors president on a float with his partner, Jason Collins, the first openly gay NBA player out there. And right in the middle of it, Commissioner Adam Silver waving the rainbow flag, dancing. He called himself a human cannon, throwing T-shirts left and right. And I'll tell you, it wasn't that long ago that it was still a touchy subject to discuss LGBTQ manners in the NBA and in other sports. But one of the most progressive leagues out there continues to lead the way. And for someone who's an ally and for those who are part of the LGBTQ community, I just can't imagine how powerful it must be to have sports and big leaders like that leading the way.
Time well spent, Sarah Spain. That's going to do it, folks. Now we're going to listen to Frank Isola talk to us about Future. Favorite Future song, Frank?
Right now. Future anyway.
Some of my best friends.